Broken Reflections. Written by Lack of Tact. Isolation, loneliness, whatever its name, Rainbow Dash was long accustomed to its company. It crept on her every night she'd been up without Tank. She had felt empty inside, as if she was missing a piece of herself. She knew it because her house didn't feel like home without him. For 3 weeks he'd been missing, and without the whirring of his engine, the silence that filled his spot quickly ate away at her. That didn't mean that she had to deal with it forever. No, she'd set up plenty of distractions to keep her mind off Tank. Evening movie binges, pulling pranks with Pinky, keeping the AJ Dash rivalry alive, Thunder Lane, distractions, sure, but nothing was permanent. Nothing kept her from feeling the bitter emotion of solitude. As she laid on her couch alone with naught but a novel in her hooves, these thoughts continued to wage a ruckus in her mind despite her dismissive reading aloud. Her idol's latest adventure, Daring Do in the City of Mirrors. It was almost idly. Rainbow Dash deigned to read to herself despite the crushing lonesome feeling reigning supreme in the back of her thoughts.
As Daring Do snuck back into the city, she'd come to quickly realize it wasn't the townspeople's light she'd followed. No, the moonlight beamed down upon tens, perhaps hundreds of broken mirrors, shards shattered strewn about, a light literally shining in darkness. However, there was not a pony to be seen amidst the faded black town. She...
Like
me? Hello?
She paused at almost an indecipherable note of noise, looking up from the printed pages and into the hall that led to her room. Her head tilted forward, seeing nothing but darkened cloud that made up the walkway.
Hey, no. I heard that. Come out or I'll whoop your flank.
She glared into the hall but received no answer. Dash had shook her head as she rolled her eyes. Only a moment passed before she decided to return to the book.
Never mind then. Guess I'm going crazy or whatever.
She licked the tip of her hoof before she thought to turn over to the next page. Yet she stopped. The noise that distracted her, whatever it may have been, proved too much of a curiosity for her to continue reading. With a sigh, she threw her head back in contempt before she'd plant the book onto the free cushion to her left.
Seriously, I know I heard you. Come on, it'll just be a light beating or something.
She continued to talk to the empty hall. To no avail. She leaned herself forward from the couch, extending her wings as she began to distend them. She hovered in place above her love seat before. Silently, she debated searching for the source of the intrusion. A single, and a sneer, and she'd slowly taken off for it, over to her room beyond the hall. The shadows that clung to the clown walls deter her not as she'd passed by the small mirror she set up before Tank's disappearance. A peculiar feeling of being watched sent a violently unwanted, uncontrolled shiver through the length of her spine before she turned around in a snap. Stopped mid-flight just before her bedroom door, head careened over her shoulders back into the living room, she swallowed an audible intake of air. A sense of wrongness permeated the length of this hall, as she couldn't place it. Rainbow Dash ripped into the inside of her cheek as she gnawed on it almost subconsciously when her paranoia was greeted with nothing. She glanced back forward at the opening of her pitch room before she turned back to her couch. A weary exhaustion overlaid her thoughts.
Maybe I am going crazy,
she mumbled mostly to herself as she opted to return to her living room. She turned and was about to pass the mirror again, but that feeling of wrong prevailed. She freezed. Against her will or not, she couldn't say. Something distinctly spasmed in the corner of her eye, a movement that she didn't make. Slowly her head turned to face her reflection, only to see the faded visage of herself staring back. As she stared at this normal item, an unpleasant return of shivers startled her out of the breath she didn't know she was holding. Rainbow Dash visibly relaxed at the sight of normalcy herself, before her gaze flickered around for whatever may have moved. Her eyes wandered around her mirror self for a moment, only to stop at her forehead. Beneath the leftward sway of her mane, she noticed a slight discrepancy. A sole strand of hair out of place that had ran right between her brow.
Ow, now that's annoying. First these noises, and now I can't keep up my hair. Figures.
She scoffs. Both her and her reflection raised their right hoofs to fix the misplaced fiber. Rainbow lowered her forelimb back to her side, a click her tongue as she smirked into the mirror.
Looking good, Artie. Looking real good.
Her clone sneered back. Not the face she thought she made, but oh well, beggars can't be choosers and whatnot. The sign Pegasus turned away from her reflection, finally intent to settle back onto her couch. However, she stopped short again, and she slowly turned her head back into the mirror. Did she see that right? Her mane was never brushed that way, was it? She squinted as she stared to inspect herself, or rather, her reflection. What may not have seemed pristine at first glance, her mirror self's mane looked brushed over to the opposing side, just as hers was. Rainbow let loose a sardonic and uncharacteristically quiet laugh, the rasp in her throat the byproduct of an unfamiliar emotion. Dread.
Right. Just the trick of the mirror.
She mumbled under her breath, eyes having not left her own in the mirror. She shook her head and she continued to the living room without another thought. Mind games. That's all it was. Just simple mind games and nothing but. Dash figured she'd sleep on the couch for no particular reason. There we go. Just a quick one I wanted to make out tonight. Read this fic on FimFic, and it was like, horror sounds pretty good right now. What also sounds good are my wonderful Patreons. Thank you, Chase the Master, HKH4 aka Texture, Triss, the Animated Ghost, Solus, and of course a large thank you to Silent Titan. You guys are amazing, and I appreciate it so much. And to the author, I hope you've enjoyed. You said this was your first ever read fic, and I hope it was good. Anyways, this has been Firehearth. Have a wonderful day.